It came to my attention in May that the title was not free and clear, and we owned this balloon payment. And we've been talking among ourselves what to do. Michigan Cat has let us use the piece.
I was going to say, why did they even give it to
Yeah,
us?
no, because they have egg on their face too, because they told me that the piece, the 930 was free and clear as well. So there was a misunderstanding. Everybody missed the balloon payment due in January of 2017, the $90,000. They looked at the lease payments, they saw they were all paid, they assumed it was free and clear. So we've been working with them on what to do. We could certainly return the 307, but it is a very valuable piece of equipment to DPW.
So they would take that back?
Yes, yes.
Because part of the selling feature was that we thought we were getting it,
Yes.
and
We were
getting
going
12 grand in cash in return,
That's
and
correct.
instead we owe them 90.
No, we have to, if we want to keep the 307,
Right.
we have to finance it to own, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's 90, 80.
Glenn, the annual payments, they were included in the original budget and passed in June, correct? 16,000?
Yes. Yeah, I think there was 25,000 in here. So the money's in the budget. It wouldn't come out of the general fund.
Move on to item 20, cross-check connection program.
Madam Chair, based on the discussion at the last council meeting, I know there was some talk about a 1 or a 2 year plan. Keith did obtain pricing for both. I know there's been a lot of discussion also, I don't know exactly with all the council members, but trying to go over the detail. I know Councilman Johnson has been over there and I've talked to him as well. We also did a cost analysis to help try to get an idea of what it would cost if we do it in-house versus the outsourcing component of it. We provided all of that to you, including a little bit of detail on the cross-connection program and the requirements. Keith, anything you want to add to any of this before we? Okay. So I don't know if there's additional questions. I know, Charlie, you said you had some.
Yep, so after our, supposedly now we have a knockdown, drag out fight, me and him.
Oh.
That's the rumor. Who was it? Neither one of us have scars, so.
No offense, but neither of you were that handsome to begin with. So it'd be hard to tell if they were wearing any scars.
Exactly. So my question is, you never did find anything, the program in our system? No. Then my question would go to Sneehall. Where'd it go?
What program are you talking about?
See, we had a program where we had backflow prevention, and it would send out letters automatic. We had all businesses and exactly what kind of backflow they had in their business. That was all on the computer at one time.
It's still there, so there exists had a two component, one called server component and one was a client component. The server component is still on the server since whatever the timing, I would say 6 or 7 years ago. DPW stopped paying maintenance on it of that software. So if you want to activate, I think Glenn reached out to me to get the data, 6 months ago, of that software. And I reached out to the company saying, can we get the client loaded so we can retrieve the data, and they wanted to back pay 7 years of the maintenance to get activated.
So we don't, I don't mean to interrupt, but we would have to pay a company to get back our data that we should have. I mean, if we created the data and it's ours, we have to pay them to get it?
It's into their software program. The software we own, which was 7 years ago, it doesn't run in a current system environment. All the new software getting updated, right? So that's why the maintenance is there. So it's the department should keep paying maintenance, so we'll get the update of that software.
Here's my problem, and I talked to Keith, and we had a discussion. You know, we have this program.
But not a fight.
Pardon me?
But not a fight.
Not a fight. How does this happen? I mean, we had something that was this thing was automatic, this thing was running like clockwork. How does that even happen? How do we just stop it? I mean, it's our own ordinance, it's federal law, it's state law. How do we just stop that 7 years ago?
I don't make those calls,
Okay.
stopping or
Yeah.
turning it on.
I mean, I just don't get that. I mean, now we're behind 5 years. I don't see that as a real big deal. The DEQ, in my opinion, has been lacking for years anyways, and most cities have. A lot of cities still don't do a backflow thing, but this thing was on autopilot. And now we're starting from scratch, and it just don't make sense. I don't know how that happened.
Madam Chair,
I was just gonna ask, this data, does HydroCorp need it to launch the
They're
program?
gonna create their own. That's part of their price. They're gonna go out and create their own data.
Madam Chair,
Do
this
we
date,
get to keep the data then after the 3-year contract?
if you look at the information that was provided you, part of the key to doing a back cross connection program is the initial step is to trace down the plumbing and to do an inspection. That's got to be done regardless. That has to be done to start your program. Even if we had the data, we still need to go in there and start the program with an initial inspection to make sure that it's got the proper backflow preventer in the proper place. And then you go on there with the paperwork.
Why do we have to do it? Why did the city have to?
Because it's required under the Michigan Safe Drinking Water Act. It's required. We have to have an approved cross-connection program that's approved by the DEQ. And now we have been deficient, and I just had the audit, and the DEQ would have to approve any new program that we put in place because of the deficiencies that we had for the last several years.
So, I'm looking at the budget here, of 1,500, and I brought that up during the budget. Why didn't we put more into this? And it was just kind of blown over, but, now we're in this situation.
no, Madam Chair, again, like every other item, it would come at the time there'd be a budget amendment that would come with the proposed cost. I mean, that's the
Well,
answer.
This is, we was talking earlier, this is part of the water rates that we go out and inspect these. I mean, we're the water purveyor, so we have to make sure it's safe.
Madam Chair, sir, to say, a lot of those questions, unfortunately, we don't have answers to as to the historical 7 years ago or whatever, why they did what they did. Those people aren't gone, or they're gone, they're not here. What we're trying to do is develop a successful program and a program that we can be compliant with the DEQ. We have some catching up to do, and at this point, it's tough to talk about, the idea of bringing it in-house right now because we're so far behind. It would be a very difficult task for us to accomplish. Could we do it? Sure. But, based on the discussion last meeting, we wanted to bring to you guys options so we could have the dialogue again. Some of the items that were talked about on Tuesday night, we didn't have the discussion on Monday night, so we didn't have the cost analysis. We didn't have what the other options would look like. Now we do, and so we wanted to bring it back for that consideration.
Madam Chair, I remember when I was at DPW, this was eliminated. I don't know why they eliminated it. I know that the discussions were held to bid it out, to contract it out. I don't know if that was the intention of why it was eliminated, but I really wasn't included in those discussions. But I know it was eliminated, and then they talked with him about bidding it out, but I don't believe it ever went anywhere. Obviously, it never went anywhere, so.
Well, back when I was there and I had trained somebody on doing these things, then the guy running the water department, Craig Lyons, said that, it's such a good program that we had, that it's on autopilot, and it didn't make sense to bid it out. So apparently the administration back then decided to bid it out or eliminate it, but now we don't have no data.
So
Which is a shame.
Our portion, from a city perspective, is to let Billy Bob's mechanic shop, send them a letter to let them know that they need to prove that their backflow or their cross connection is working properly, and then they provide us the statement saying that, correct?
Well,
That's not the entire program.
Well, I
Here's
know
what
we-
happens.
okay.
Here's what happens. We don't know, because we don't have that data now. So we don't know if Billy Bob's has a backflow. or even is required to have one. So the people that don't know, this is to prevent siphoning of contaminated water back in the system so people don't die. So we don't know if he has one or is he even required to have one. Most businesses don't have one, they're not required. So that's what this company or our guys used to do, would go out, a new business opened, they would pull a permit for RPZ, and that's where we've talked about that they never communicated with the DPW to know that. So this company would actually go out, look at that business and say, nope, you don't need one, you're good. And then they go to Jim Bob's next door and say, oh, you need one for that wash machine there. And this is what you need. And then they would pay a company to put it in, have it tested. Or you have one, and this is what it is. The problem is, they're going to take it, they'll have all the data. We don't have any of that anymore.
Or we have to pay to get.
Madam Chair? I just want to elaborate a little bit on what Charlie said, what Johnson said. That is correct, a lot of what he said on here, but you also have to determine if it's a high hazard or low hazard backflow. And high hazard has to be inspected every year, and a low hazard has to be inspected between 2 and 5 years. So this program is continued. I mean, it's not like we go in there once and we caught up, because we are required to test the high hazards annually, or send a notice to have them tested annually. We don't test them, the company does. But when they go in for the initial inspection, the inspector will write, you need an RPZ or a certain kind of check valve, and they may have a backflow preventer, but they may have the wrong one. And then our inspector will require them to put the right one in, give them a deadline, and then have it tested, and then he goes for a re-inspection to make sure that those are in place. And then we have a record of that, if it's a high hazard or low hazard. If it's a high hazard, he has to go back again the next year and inspect it and require another test on that annually. And not only that, the DEQ is also starting to require us to go into the residential part, because it's addressed in the Michigan Plumbing Code, and they are taking the stance that they're enforcing the Michigan Plumbing Code, and they're really pushing all the communities to do residential. So it's going to be a requirement. It'd probably most likely be an amendment to the Michigan Safe Drinking Water Act. And to add to all this, I had conversation with the DEQ in the last week or so, and on date of our audit, and I was supposed to receive the audit today, because I called her and asked where it was at, and she said it was done. I think her bosses are looking at it. I should either get it sometime this week, but they did indicate that we only have 30 days from the time of that letter to get a program together, or they're going to issue violations.
Real quick, I kind of disagree with you on the way you stated that as far as these guys going back. Once they determine the type of backflow that's required.
They go back to verify that it's been put in and the proper backflow preventers in. And that's all part of their fee for the initial inspection. They don't charge extra.
Normally, that's not necessary, because to put a backflow in, permit is required. So that permit would say, yes, it's done. Our inspector would actually here would say, yes, it's done. What would happen is this company is not going to go back again, because I've dealt with this company. They're not going back again. They're going to send them a letter next year going, that RPZ that we made you put in last year.
If it's a high hazard, they're going back. It's actually it's written out in the Michigan State Drinking Water Act.
I've never seen them go back.
That's what part of their program is.
So all of these inspections is to reestablish the data?
All this inspection is to make sure that we're providing safe drinking water to the public. I mean, this is a safety issue. I mean, it's not, their inspection is required in the Michigan Safe Drinking Water Act. An inspection is required to build the database. Even once the database is we have the database, they still have to come back the next year and go in there and do another
If
inspection.
we had the information, it would be 7 years old, and we'd still have to do a lot of this work.
That's correct.
Right, to
So
reestablish
it's
the
not
data.
just trying to
But I don't
pay this
understand.
company to reestablish stuff we had. If we had the data, it would still be 7 years old.